I'm Marty Markowitz, and it's my pleasure on this very specialty night to welcome you as we launch the 40th anniversary celebration of Specialty Records. In addition to all of you from the Specialty family, we'd also like to welcome our Scranton area guests, many of whom have known the Marquardt family and Specialty Records as longtime friends, neighbors, and community partners. As always, it's a pleasure to welcome back Marty Payson of Time Warner, Rick Wietzma of Warner Brother Records, Bob Clary, Columbia House, and Joan Pincus of Time Warner. We're all glad that you're here tonight.
Good evening, and thank you very much for coming. Specialty Record Corporation is a story of two families. The Markwood family, who founded the company, and the family of employees, both past and present, whose hard work and dedication has made Specialty Record Corporation the success it is today. This brief video is about those families. Thank you.
How would you like to make $1 million in a hurry? Your best bet is probably the record business. It is a business that can drive one generation to drink and despair and another to driving Rolls Royces.
It began with confidence. In 1950, a 23,000 square foot building was purchased for $15,000, and the newspapers of the day proclaimed that the new Specialty Records Corporation would begin production with 100 employees. Founder and President Roy Marquardt brought 25 years of record manufacturer's experience with him as he set out to build his new company.
And Roy was rocking around making lemonade for everybody. It was so hot, all of a sudden somebody decided we're going to leave. So we decided, okay, we're going to go. So we just shut the machines off, shut the presses down, and out we went. So next morning we come into work. He called us all, he was waiting. He had a nice meeting. He got on that couple boxes there and he let us know, hey, do that again, fellas, and you won't have a job. I'm telling you right now. In other words, I'm trying to do all I could for you, but I need the product out of here also. So, didn't do it again. He was a great guy to work for. He sure in hell was, I'll tell you.
In fact, the initial staffing was a bit more modest, with 3 employees producing 7-inch 45 RPM records on the first floor of the former silk mill located at 210 North Valley Avenue. The manufacturing process at this time was all manual, and it took 22 seconds to make a 7-inch record. Vinyl biscuits had to be placed on steam tables to soften them before inserting into the press. By 1952, there were 9 presses yielding 7,200 units per day. A second shift was added in August 1957, and 10-inch 78 RPM records were also coming off the specialty presses. By 1955, Bill Haley and his Comets had made Rock Around the Clock the hit heard around the world, as a new audience for rock and roll eagerly bought new records. Despite resistance from the established record industry and vocal naysayers, rock and roll was here to stay.
And I was on my way to church, and I met Howard Mitchell, who was Roy's partner. And he asked what I was doing, and I told him, you know, I had just had a baby, and I wasn't doing anything, so he asked if I would come and help him out, which I did. Here I am, 35 years later.
I've done everything.
I was working with Frank, and he said to me, he says, Jack, he says, go get the tap, go get the tap. And I'm going looking for the tap, looking for the tap. So him, out of his impatience, come running down the back, picks up a roll of black tape, and he says, this is the tap.
Specialty Records Corporation's contributions to the hits of the 50s were Long Tall Sally by Little Richard, April of 1956, number 6 for 12 weeks on the Specialty label, along with Imperial Eddie Fisher, Oh My Papa, December of 1953, ABC, Edie Gourmet, You Need Hands, May of 1958, number 11 for 9 weeks, ABC Dot, Fats Domino, Blueberry Hill, November of 1956, number 2 for 21 weeks, plus overflow work for Capitol Records label Nat King Cole, Peggy Lee, and Chubby Checker.
I'll never forget the time like when Carol, which is Richard's sister, happened to be working with us right on the floor. And her comment was, when my brother takes over, you won't see any more of this. This place will grow. And that's exactly what had happened.
In 1960, Richard Marquardt, son of Roy Marquardt, joined Specialty Records after earning a degree in mechanical engineering from Lehigh University, working 2 years in DuPont Corporation's engineering plastics and sales department, and active duty in the U.S. Air Force.
And at that point, there was very few employees here. There was probably actually working about at any one time anywhere between 6 and 12 employees. Prior to probably 1957, the label owner supplied the stampers, he supplied the labels, he supplied the sleeves, he paid overtime if it was necessary to work beyond 8 hours a day or Saturdays or Sundays. He paid all the overtime costs. Any extras the customer paid for. Through the late 50s, this all changed to where all of these things had to be supplied by the pressing plant.
Manufacturing technology developed to meet the needs of high-fidelity and stereophonic record buyers. Specialty Records began the 1960s, adding 12-inch 33 1/3 RPM records to its product line. Initially, 12-inch product along with 7-inch 45s were made on manual presses, producing 650 records per press on an 8-hour shift.
He took me downstairs and he introduced me to Hank Savage, which he was my instructor at the time. And these were only manual presses. And there was 12 presses at the time. I believe there was only 12 presses at the time. And he started me off with manual presses. And we operated one press. You had to push the press in, and when the timer kicked off, you'd have to pull the press back out. And there was a steam table. Put the biscuits on the steam table, and you had to cut your biscuit and put a label down, and biscuit and label on top, and push the press back in.
In the mid-60s, extruders were added to the manual presses, eliminating the need for the steam tables to soften biscuits. The biscuits were replaced by vinyl pellets. At this time, there were 12 press operators and 18 presses. Clam bakes were an early tradition that brought employees and their families together. SRC family of employees at the first clam bake. Frank Yurkevich, Frank Maris, Joe Hudak, Michael Oprishko in the center as they play cards. Clam Bake Award winners.
The early 60s, business, you worked only a few days and then you were laid off. But when Richard took over, basically it seemed like business got much heavier, and that's where all our expansion started.
The customer base grew as production capacity increased. Specialty Records' first major account was Atlantic Records, who have been with us since 1965. Harcourt Brace and World distributed 7-inch 33 1/3 RPM language records manufactured by Specialty Records beginning in 1961.
And when I came, there were just really 3 people in the office. There was a bookkeeper and the secretary to the president of the company and a person that answered the telephone.
Musical tastes in the early 60s ran from folk music to surf music. In 1964, the British invasion brought a whole new vitality to the music business. In 1969, label printing operations began at the Specialty plant. In 72, metal plating operations were added to SRC's operation at an outside location on River Street, which was once a milk dairy. And feeling the need for more space, a warehouse was added at Fern Hill in 1969. The 70s were a period of growth for Specialty Records. By 1970, automatic presses were in use, and production capacity increased to 1,300 records per press per shift.
Asylum first came out, these brand new artists that really took off, like Linda Ronstadt, Jackson Browne, the Eagles. It's all in the early 70s, and that Asylum label just went crazy, right through the roof.
A design contest held in the early 70s led to the Specialty Records logo, created by Frank Petrochko. And the stars came to Specialty Records, too. In 1973, Sylvia Robinson of Mickey and Sylvia visited SRC. Her single, Pillow Talk, held the number 3 spot for 13 weeks for the all-platinum label. SRC has also been visited by famous acts such as Metallica, Don Dokken, and Faster Pussycat, compliments of Elektra Records. The 25th anniversary party was a big success. A Awards were given for years of service and a special presentation made to founder Roy Marquardt and his wife Teresa. Richard, Teresa, and Roy Marquardt. Jack Williams, John Muldowney, Roy Marquardt. Roy Marquardt and Jerry Pisarcik. Richard Marquardt, Sue Williams, Joe Bernatovich, Teddy Klimosh. Cyril Kane, Richard Marquardt, John Chinchilla, Mr. Walsh. Richard Marquardt and Joe Bernatovich. John and Betty Golay. Mr. and Mrs. Bob Warnetsky. Ray Kiliani and his family. Frank Scatile and a group at the 25th anniversary of SRC. Eddie Hudak. Bill Havren with friends. Mike Malecki and his wife Pawn. Peter Rozanich and a group of friends from SRC. Andy Shuda with friends. Jack Williams, Richard Marquardt. Specialty Records Corporation took a great step towards becoming a major LP producer when it picked up Elektra Records' None Such classical line in 1974 and 75. Already a proven manufacturer of rock and pop records, Specialty Records established itself as a quality manufacturer in the classical field, too. Catalog production for Atlantic and Elektra Records spurred expansion in LP production for 10 years. During late 1977 and 78, the record industry experienced a major sales explosion with multi-platinum hits from the Eagles, Bee Gees, Linda Ronstadt, Foreigner, and Donna Summer. At its peak in the 70s, the American music industry produced 2/3 of the records and cassettes sold worldwide. With pressing capacity strained to the limit, the major record labels such as Warner, Elektra, and Atlantic, who did not have their own manufacturing facilities, wanted to be ensured of having ample supplies of their product. In 1978, Warner Communications Incorporated acquired Specialty Records Corporation and formed WIA Manufacturing to be its corporate entity in the music manufacturing business.
The RCA label at that time was just overloaded with orders. They tried to shop out as many orders as they possibly could, but every independent pressing plant at that time frame was busy. And I think that's the decision, the time WCI made the decision to get involved in their own manufacturing to ensure that they had a sufficient supply of product on the street for their own labels.
In May of 1979, WCI acquired family-owned Allied Records to become Specialty Records Corporation's sister company on the West Coast. In October 1979, Specialty Records Corporation officially broke ground on its new plant in the Mid-Valley Industrial Park, less than 2 miles from the original plant. The Marquardt family and company executives gathered to celebrate a new beginning. Richard, Sally, Teresa, and Roy Marquardt. David Horowitz. Richard Marquardt, President and CEO, WIA Manufacturing. Roy Marquardt, Richard Marquardt, Cyril Kane, Joe McDade. Richard Marquardt, Ron LaRue. WIA and SRC employees with Richard Marquardt. Richard Marquardt and his mother, Teresa Marquardt. Sally Marquardt, Sam Broadhead, Jack Williams, Janice Smith, and Tony Sidorsky. Richard Marquardt, Jack Williams, and WIA Manufacturing customers. Also in 1979, Specialty Records Corporation added cassette manufacturing at a facility located on Capouse Avenue in Scranton. 5 employees operated 9 cassette and duplicating slaves. An additional 5 slaves were purchased and intended for 8-track use, but due to management foresight on the short-term lifespan of this product, they were soon converted to cassette duplicating machines. The first day of cassette manufacturing produced 250 units of ABBA for Columbia House Record and Tape Club. By the end of 1979, a total of 178,000 cassettes were manufactured.
I remember one of the things that happened was the first large order we had was for 5,000 pieces. That was the Eagles' Long Run album. And we were scared to death of that because it was going to take us 2 weeks to do it. Now, by comparison, we could do that in probably an hour and a half.
I think the thing that's perhaps fascinating with this company since I joined it is its growth and its transition from the traditional 12-inch, 7-inch black vinyl to the new product lines in cassettes, and of course now with Laserdisc CDs, and of course now we're even considering videos.
Cassette production increased rapidly, with the first million cassettes produced by April of 1980, and at the end of 1980, 9 million cassettes had been produced at Specialty. The 80s will be remembered as a period of dramatic technological developments in pre-recorded music manufacturing, and for the emergence of the audio cassette as the dominant market leader. In 1981, Specialty Records Corporation consolidated all of its operations at their new state-of-the-art facility. The grand opening was a big celebration, with Specialty Records Corporation executives hosting guests from Warner Communications Incorporated, customers, and employees. David Horowitz, Joe McDade, Governor William Scranton, Lieutenant Governor Bill Scranton Jr., Jack Williams, Joe Hilminski, Richard Marquardt, Rick Wietzma. Patina and Fritz Kaw, Richard Marquardt, Bridget and Alan Mead, Sally Marquardt. Ribbon cutting, Richard Marquardt, Bill Scranton Jr., Joe McDade, David Horowitz. Bill Scranton, Richard Marquardt, Bill Scranton Jr., David Horowitz, Joe McDade. David Horowitz, Richard Marquardt, David Horowitz, Al Sarnoff. The Marquardt family, George Pan and his wife, Bernie Friedman and his wife, John Bremer, Richard Marquardt. Alice Bremer, Richard Marquardt, John Bremer. Ed Hughes, Frank Apostolico, Jack Williams, Steve Broadhead. Tony Sidorsky, Matt Gilligan, Sandra Burton. Joe Muldowney Jr., Frank Apostolico. Frank Apostolico, Linda and Jack Williams. Rick Wietzma. Jack and Linda Williams with Steve Broadhead and Tony Sidorsky. Bernie Friedman, Jim Walker, Tony Sidorsky. By this time, Specialty was producing 50 million 12-inch and 46 million 7-inch records and 26 million cassettes annually. In 1984, WIA Manufacturing and Specialty Records technicians helped to develop the Mark X high-technology cassette shell. To ensure sufficient supply of these shells, we began to manufacture the shells in the plant.
But in 1985, we made the first major move in which we diminished the size of the record finishing department and enlarged the tape operation.
In late May of 1986, Specialty Records Corporation began construction of its first compact disc manufacturing facilities within the existing warehouse. The construction took a total of 3 months to complete, beating the world's record for installation of a CD facility by half that amount of time. The first CD produced was No Jacket Required by Phil Collins in September of 1986. By November 1986, the first million CDs had been produced at Specialty. Current capacity is over 100 million CDs annually. WIA Manufacturing and Specialty Records Corporation research, development, and manufacturing engineers have developed a CD tester, which may become the world's first standard. A smaller version has been in use for 2 years. And these innovators have also developed an automatic scanner to check the quality of the disc label printing. The automatic scanner is patent pending and has been in use for 6 months. In 1986, with the onset of CD production and the increase in business in other areas, dramatic changes occurred in warehousing. At first, 9 satellite storage warehouses were added until a new 310,000 square foot warehouse was completed at SRC.
Followed that with the starting of the new warehouse, 302,400 square feet, in the fall of '88.
We have grown steadily, increasing our capacity until today, where we currently have two of the largest data processing computers that Data General markets.
In just the short time I've been with this company, the caliber of people, the work pace, the enthusiasm, the excitement is just fantastic.
While the vinyl LP is diminishing in the consumer marketplace, the growth in CDs during the late 1980s has been dramatic. In 1986, Specialty Records Corporation had the capacity to produce 4.3 million CDs. In 1990, that number had grown to well over 100 million CDs annually. Cassette production has exploded, with current annual capacity at over 160 million.
The people, I think, are the most important thing about the company that I like. They're very easy to work with. They like to work.
We brought in other record companies that aren't affiliated with Time Warner. We, among our many customers, are BMG RCA. We do business with Arista, with Capitol Records, with Geffen Records.
Employee staffing has grown with production, from 288 employees in 1978 to the current 1,911 employees in 1990.
We've probably hired 700, 800 people in the last 3 years, which is almost half of what is up at the plant now, as a result of the business being very good, especially, and we have just grown dramatically.
It's the people over the years with their interest in Specialty Records at that time, and then eventually We Manufacturing, that has enabled us to continue to grow, to be a dominant force supplying quality and service to our customers, and this originates right with the people.
The crew from Billig Shoe came in, and a guy sat next to me, and he asked me where I worked. I said, I just started at Specialty Records. And this always sticks in my mind. He said, well, you know, if I was you, son, I'd get out of Specialty Records. They're hiring at Billig Shoe. He goes to me, you know, shoes is a necessity. People are always going to need shoes. He said, records, that's a luxury. And he goes, I think the shoe industry will be here forever, but records, music, you never know. And to this day, I still remember that, because a year later, Billig Shoes closed down because of the imports. And here, we're still thriving.
Musical tastes have grown and diversified. The market segmentation, made possible by the growth in FM radio and cable television, has produced a music market which embraces a wide variety of musical styles. Pre-recorded music marketing has reflected this diversification, and manufacturing has responded with increased capacity and production flexibility. The dreams and ambitions of founder Roy Marquardt have more than been fulfilled by Richard Marquardt and the employees of We Manufacturing and Specialty Records Corporation. A modest operation begun 40 years ago on North Valley Avenue has become the international manufacturing leader that is Specialty Records Corporation.
Well, as you've seen, Specialty Records has certainly undergone a lot of change. But change in and of itself doesn't guarantee success. It takes something more. And here at Specialty, that something more has been the presence of a single personality directing and molding those forces of change. As president, CEO, head coach, for the better part of Specialty's 40 years, Richard Marquardt has pulled, pushed, prodded, coaxed. Under his nurturing guidance, Specialty has grown from a small enterprise into a national leader in the music industry and a major success story for Northeast Pennsylvania and the Scranton area. So Richard, as we celebrate this 40th milestone, we also celebrate your vision and your dedication and your commitment to achieving that vision. Richard, would you join your executive team in coming forward with a very special thanks from your extended family, the many people who are Specialty Records, Allied Records, and We Manufacturing.
Is presented to Richard Charles Marquardt in appreciation from the employees, Specialty Records, We Manufacturing, 1950-1990.
The video was just amazing. Thank you very much. I appreciate all the comments that you gentlemen added to it. I would like to believe they're from your heart. The comments of the employees, the involvement of my mother and dad were just super. It's been a fantastic evening up to this point. but with, some people have said to me, you know, with all the speakers around here and the lights and everything, I don't think they're just for us. So I think maybe there's something yet to come. I don't want to take anything away from tomorrow, but all of you out there have played a part in this, whether it's customers, whether it's the support of corporate, which has been overwhelming to our company and to this area, to all the local businessmen who have supported this company, and to all the friends and to all the spouses that have made it successful. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. Now we'll get a picture with the guys that do the work. Come on, guys. Come on, come on, come on. Yeah.
1 second. But don't get caught. It's just like this. Okay. Nice. Okay, hold it. One more, guys. One more.
Good to see you. Well, thank you very much. My wife, Sally. All right. Governor Casey, Sheldon Vogel. All right. Sheldon is the... Afternoon, everybody. Everybody hear me all right? You in the back, wave your hand there. Good afternoon. We are very, very pleased you are all with us, and we thank you for taking this Sunday out of your busy weekend schedule to help us celebrate. 40 years ago, when my mother and father began Specialty, they never imagined, not in their fondest dreams, that their little company would ever grow into this. And the most important part of it is right out here. All of you people. This is the largest high-tech music manufacturing plant in the world. Many of you, guests, as well as employees alike, have played a role in this growth. And to you, customers, government officials, local business people, friends, and of course, loyal employees, I express our appreciation for your help in this development. You have earned the right to share our pride. This growth has occurred in little successes over many years, and these always followed a great deal of old-fashioned hard work. I know the employees have heard this before, but I want to publicly recognize them and thank them for this work ethic, which includes an interest in one's job, one's company, and one's industry, continually making suggestions as to how to improve equipment and systems, a great willingness to try new tools and new processes, and all this on top of total dedication. Without this old-fashioned hard work, we would not be here today. And with it, Specialty will be here for another 40 years, and in reality, with it, 10 times 40 years. A couple of minutes ago, I mentioned my mother as a founder of Specialty. I know the role that she played in its creation
and helping nurture it through the 1950s. At this time, I would like to recognize my wife, Sally, as a partner who played a very supportive role in helping me lead specialty through the 60s and the 70s, and then here in the last 12 years, helped me learn to be a contributing WCI and now Time Warner executive. And for all of you who have also played a part in helping specialty grow, in any small way, we hope today will evoke a special memory. Our celebration is a celebration of people, not of buildings or machines, but of people. All of you people. So please join us for lunch, and I hope you and your guests have a very, very enjoyable afternoon. Thank you very much, everybody.
They know what they have to do, right?
Come on, Joe. Right back and we'll finish goods round. Yeah, right, okay. All right, yeah, we're all in. That's it. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for taking the time to join us.
Well, Dave,
Back out of the way. Person, wait your turn. All right. Happy 40th anniversary, Specialty Records.
Wait.
Happy 40th anniversary, Specialty Records. Happy 40th anniversary, Specialty Records. Happy 40th anniversary, Specialty Records.
All the good times. Yes, folks, for the good times. For the times of your life. Happy anniversary, Specialty Records. 40 big ones.